Namaskar, Jai Shri Krishna. Illustrating text 1, text 2 and text 3 of chapter 3.Karma-Yoga, the discharge of one's prescribed duty in Krishna's consciousness of Srimad Bhagavad-gita. Text 1, Arjuna Uvacha Jayasi Set Karmanaste Mata Buddhir Janardana Tata Kim Karmani Ghore Mama Niyojayasi Keshava. Arjun said, O Janardan, O Keshav, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, has very elaborately described the constitution of the soul in the previous chapter with a view to delivering his intimate friend Arjun from the ocean of material grief, and the path of realization has been recommended Buddhi Yoga or Krishna's consciousness. Sometimes Krishna's consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such an understanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become fully Krishna's conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna's consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in a secluded place where one may acquire only cheap adoration from the innocent public. Arjun also thought of Krishna's consciousness or Buddhi Yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, he wanted to specifically, skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna's consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In answer, Lord Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga or work in Krishna's consciousness in this third chapter. Text 2. Vyamis redeva vakyena buddhim mohaya siva me tada ekkam vada nishchita yena shreyo aham apnuyam. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. In the previous chapter, as a prelude to the Bhagavad-gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruitive desire, and the position of the neophyte. This was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjun therefore wanted to clear up all these apparently confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjun by any jugglery of words, Arjun could not follow the process of Krishna's consciousness either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, he is clearing the path of Krishna's consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad-gita. Text 3. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Loke Asmin Dvivida Nishtha Pura Prokta Maya Nagha Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjun, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation and others by devotional service. In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained two kinds of procedures, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. In this verse, the Lord explains the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter is the subject matter for persons who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. The other class of men work in Krishna's consciousness as it is explained in the 61st verse of the second chapter. The Lord has explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principles of the Buddhi Yoga or Krishna's consciousness, one can be relieved from the bonds of actions, and furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. The same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse that this Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna, and in this way, all the senses can be brought under control very easily. Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent as religion and philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. The ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers who are also sincerely searching after the absolute truth come in the end to Krishna's consciousness. This is also stated in the Bhagavad-gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the super self. The indirect process is philosophical speculation by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna's consciousness, and the other process process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna's consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna's consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. Krishna's consciousness is itself the purifying process, and by the direct method of devotional